Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night from where or when you're watching this video. This is John from IT Skills Academy, and I take this opportunity to welcome you back to my channel. Thanks for choosing to continue to learn with IT Skills Academy. We continue to create this dashboard using Tailwind Css. We are now in episode 3. We have created this dashboard up to this point in part 1 and part 2. So in part 3 now we'll be adding some more contents here and also finish the remaining part. So without so much ado, let's get started. But first, we'll load the intro. Alright, thanks for choosing to continue with IT Skills Academy. So as I have mentioned, we'll continue to create this component from where we left, and then later on we'll also finish these other parts. So before we continue to add more content down here, if we go to the almost finished dashboard here, you notice that we have a shadow here, and this part is also kind of rounded on top here. So that's the first effect that we want to achieve, and then later we'll come and continue to add some more content here and continue with the rest of this dashboard. So to be able to do that, we're going to rush to the Visual Studio Code and also get to the specific div that is affected, and it is this specific div here. So I'll just give it a class. So because I want to get a shadow, I'll just come and give it a shadow, and this shadow should be extra large. So I'll just say shadow -XL, and to achieve that rounded top part, I'm just going to come and say rounded TL LG, that is large. So by just adding those two classes, we'll have achieved this effect that we have here. So let's refresh and see if we are going to get that. Alright, and as you can see now, we have that shadow effect here that sort of separate this component and this component, or this column here. Alright, so now we can continue to add some more content here, and I'll just duplicate this so that we can have some more, and so we see if we are able to get the scrolling bar here. So back to the Visual Studio Code, and we want to come and have this text. So if I get to the dashboard that we are creating here, I want to be able to get or have this text here with the icon. So we want to come and have it somewhere here. So I'll just go below the 6 hours, below this span, and let me just get this icon that we'll be using here. I'll be leaving a link in the description of this video where you can be able to get these SVG icons. So for our case, they're just for demo purposes, so that's why we are reusing them here. So I'll just have that there, and then now below that icon we are now going to have the text, and the said text will be in a div. So I'm going to create a div, and within this div I'm going to have some text. So I'm just going to come and have some dummy text. So I can just come and say I can just have some text there like that. And now we're going to give this div a class before we see how that looks like. So we give it a class, and the first class will be flex, and because this is a container that will accommodate lots of content, I want to make it grow. So it will be growing according to the content that is being fed. and I don't want to show all the text at the same time, so I want to hide some text. So like for instance, if you go to this one, you'll find that we have some message and then dot 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 dot, like we're not showing everything. But first, maybe before we add that class, let's just come and add the text sm, so that is the text size, so it should be small. And first of all, before we do anything else, let's see how that looks on the browser. So we refresh that. Alright, now the next thing that you want to do is to add some more content below the name here. So if we switch to this one, you're going to find that we have this content here with an icon. So that's what we want to add here. As you can see, our dashboard is almost taking some shape. So what I will do is that I'll just go to this span here, and below it I'm going to have a div. So I'm going to come and have a div here, and within this div I'm now going to have the icon. As you can see here, we have this SVG icon here. So that will be the first thing, and we're just reusing this SVG icon here. I'll be leaving a link in the description of this video from where you can be able to download all these icons. So in our case, we're just reusing this because it's just a demo, and we just want to like get the layout of the dashboard, and not focusing on the content as much. So now below the icon, this is where we are going to have the text, and this again will be in its own div again. So I'm going to create another div, and within this now I'm going to have some text. So I'm just going to have some dummy text, so I can just come and write rem 24 tab. So that will just help me to achieve that or get that dummy sentence there. Okay, so let me just have this one aligned properly. Okay, like that. So that's what we got. So if we refresh the browser as it is now, let's see what we have. Alright, so this is how it looks like. So you can see we need to fix a few things here. So let's just go back to the text editor, and first of all we go to the parent div on top here, and we try to add some classes. So the first class will be flex, and we want to achieve a low or get or align the items in a low. So we're going to say flex low, and we're also going to have the items centered, and also get a space of 1. Alright, so let's see what that will give us, if it will fix the problem. Alright, so the problem is not yet fixed, so I think we have a serious problem in our code. So let's try and see what could be the problem. Oh, sorry, we have this within the same div that we have the 6 hours and the name, but we should not have it there, so we should get rid of that. So the whole of this the whole of that should be below this specific div here. So this div should be on its own, and then now below it, now we should have this div that we have just created. Yeah, so just like that. So just don't confuse that. So where you're having the name and the hours, that should be a div on its own, and now where you're having the message itself, again, that should be another separate div. So we now refresh and see if that is fixed. Alright, so the next thing that we'll be doing is to hide some of this text. As you can see, we have this text taking a lot of space, but it's possible to just hide some content, so that if one wants to read the message, you can click the message and read the whole message here, other than reading it on here. So here we'll just like be having a preview. So to be able to achieve that, we're going to head on to the text editor, and within the div that is holding that specific text, we're going to add a class, and the first class will be flex, and we want this container to be growing and shrinking depending on the content. So for that, we'll say flex glow. We want the text to be small, so we say text SM, and to hide some text, we're going to add this class called truncate. So now we refresh. Yeah, and that's what we have. So some text has been hidden, and now we have achieved that. So we can now maybe try to change the color. You see these icons have different colors from this, because this is sort of the active component here, or text. So to be able to do that, we're just going to go to that div, and within the class, we're just going to come and say text color, sorry, text color, and that should be, sorry, not text color, but just text, and then blue, and then the opacity, so 200, and we can also make it bold. So text, maybe we can have it being semi-bold, so semi-bold, semi-bold. So the same case to the other one on top here. Yeah, so if I refresh now, oh sorry, we have a problem somewhere. What should be the problem? Okay. Oh, sorry, it's because they have the same color. Oh, so we should decrease this opacity here. Instead of 200, maybe we can have it as 600. Let's see if that is fixed. Well, so far so good. Let's add some colors to our SVG icons. You also notice that our icon currently is very small here because of the content that we have added here. So we also need to be able to fix that, so that this icon is not affected by the content that is added here. So let's try to fix that. So we'll go to the first icon here. So we have it here. That is on top of the name, and we're going to add the first class, that is a text blue 600, because BG color is 200, so we're going to earn 600 because the BG color is 200. So the text color should have a higher opacity. So we also want the text to be bold, so I'll say text semi-bold. Let me just have it as semi-bold. And we're also going to have these two classes also in the second SVG icon here. And for this icon, we are going to make it a little bit bigger, so we will say height 6 and width 6. And now, to make the icon not to be affected by the content, like don't steal any pixels from the SVG icon, we're going to have a class of flex none. So that will make the icon not to be affected, like not to shrink or grow based on the content that is within this specific div here. So let's refresh and see if that is done. Yeah, and as you can see now we have that. So we have the icon being bigger and visible than what we have here. And yeah, it looks nice. So if you add the specific icons, then it will be yeah, it will be very appealing. So we now want to duplicate this so that we can have various text. So we assume that we have some communication. So what I'm just going to do is to duplicate, and I'll be duplicating this column here. So I'll duplicating this if I'm not wrong. So let's just duplicate it once, and first of all check to see if that is the correct div. Great, and now we are able to have that. So we don't want the second one to be having the background, blue background, so because we assume that it's not the active one. So I'm just going to come and remove some of the classes. So I just go on top here, and for the border we're just going to come and have it without a bold, not border rather, but the background. So we're going to remove the background. The hovering effect should still be there, that's quite okay. For the text blue, we will also remove that as well. And the same with the second icon here. Yeah, and the rest should remain as it is. So if we refresh the browser, yeah, we should have it like that, but we also need to remove the border line here. So we should also go to on top here and remove the border, whole of that, get rid of it. Refresh that. Yeah, and we don't have the border anymore, but still we have the hovering effect like that, and that's what we wanted to achieve. So let's now duplicate this several times so that now we assume that we have some communication here. So I'm just going to come and grab the whole of this link here, grab the whole of it up to that point, then I'll duplicate it several times. So Shift Alt and arrow pointing downwards, duplicate, 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 duplicate. So now if we refresh, let's see what we, yeah, and that's what we have. So if you can now see this is scrollable, this part is scrollable, and this one is just fixed on top there. And as you can see now, our dashboard is beginning to take some shape. It's almost similar to what we have here. So now we continue now to the next part. I think that is done now. Yeah, we continue to the next part, which is this B here. So we get back to the text editor, and this is the part that we are editing. So just get rid of the B for now. We're also going to change the background, so we'll just in fact remove it. And first of all, we want to come and have a border, so we'll add a border, a raj, and the border should be gray in color, so gray. That should be 300 opacity. And we should also of course add the flex, so that one should be here. So flex column, and now below or within that we're going to have some content. So within this div, we are going to create yet another div. Within which we are also going to have yet another one, and it is now inside here that we are going to have some content. So in fact what we want to get is this name John and some text muted here. So that's what we want to achieve there. So if we now just come back to the text editor, you can just come and have this strong, and I write the John. And now below that we want to have some text, so this one should be within another div. So we come and add some text here. Alright, so that's what we have there. So let's see if that is working fine. Okay, so that is working fine. So now we want to add some classes so that we are able to align that properly. You also notice that we have this border here that we've just added, which is working fine as well. So back to the text editor, and let's try to add some classes. First of all, starting with the parent div here. So the first thing we're going to do is to have it with flex. Sorry, should we start with class flex. We want our items to be in a row, so we say flex row. and we'll also specify the height of this specific div. So the height should be 16, and we also want to justify items between and have a padding of 4, I mean 2, and it should also should be some sort of fixed, so it should not be adjusted by the content below it. So we say flex none. Alright, so we're also now going to come to the child div and add a class, and the first class will be flex, and this should be a column, so flex col, and some spacing, so we say space y1. So for the text, we're also going to style it a little bit, so we say class, the text should be muted, so we say text gray 300. Alright, so let's see how that will look on a browser. So we refresh. Alright, and that looks good. So if you compare it with this one, yeah, it's almost similar. So now we can now go ahead and now create the bottom part here. So this part here now that contains the communication. So now within this div, we are now going to come and add yet another div, a child div here. So a div, we can maybe create some space here a little bit, and inside this div, the first thing that you're going to have is an icon. So let me just go get an icon here. So the icon, the specific icon that we're talking about is this specific icon here. So that's what we want to come and add somewhere here. So that's the first thing that we have there. Now below the icon, and in fact outside that div, we're going to create yet another div that will now have the text. So we'll come and have a div, and now within this div, alright, now that we have the icon, we can now try to have the content. So again, for the content, we're going to have it in its own div. So that one should come outside this div that we have here. So that one should be outside this div. So I'm just going to go below that div, and now below that div I'm going to add yet another div, and it is here that I'm going to have the content. So if you look clearly, this div we have terminated it like that.